I still remember the exact moment I saw Maya for the first time. It was a charity auction in the downtown Columbus, some half-baked event my buddy dragged me to because his girlfriend bailed. I didn't even want to be there. I'd just come off a rough breakup and figured I'd slip in, make a donation, and disappear. But there she was, laughing, head tilted back, holding a glass of red wine like she owned the place. She caught me staring and smiled like she already knew I was hooked. I walked over, said something stupid about the cheese plate, and somehow she laughed. That was it. She was warm, quick, playful, like she could read people without even trying. We talked all night like we'd known each other for years. She gave me her number without hesitation. A week later, we were inseparable. Quick note, before we go deeper into this, share which city or country you're watching from. Within 3 months, we'd done it all. Trips, family dinners, late-night pizza runs, beach weekends. Everything with her felt easy. She loved touching me, reaching for my hand in the car, hugging me from behind while I cooked. I'd never had someone be so affectionate. She even told me I made her feel safe, like she could finally stop pretending. By month 6, we were engaged. I didn't hesitate. Everyone thought it was fast. But I didn't care. We got married the following spring. Outdoor ceremony, string lights. Her family flew in from North Carolina. Mine drove up from Dayton. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. She looked like a dream in that lace dress, holding my hand with both of hers like she'd never let go. The honeymoon in Key West was insane. Late nights, early mornings, endless laughter, always touching, always close. We didn't fight once. I thought, this is what people mean when they talk about finding the one. We got back to Ohio, and for a while, it was still good. Quiet nights, dinners at home, cuddling on the couch with dumb reality TV in the background. I'd wake up, see her next to me, and feel like I hit the jackpot. But after a couple weeks, something started to shift. Small things at first. She stopped reaching for my hand. Her kisses felt quick, like she was doing it out of habit. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd just shrug or say, fine, then stare at her phone all night. I told myself it was just stress. New routine, married life, adjusting. It made sense. Everyone hits bumps in the beginning, right? I didn't realize that was the beginning of the end. At first, I didn't even notice it was happening. It was just little stuff. Her pulling her hand away when I reached for it in the car, turning over in bed before I could wrap my arm around her. I figured she was tired or maybe in a weird mood, but the weird mood didn't go away. I'd walk in from work, give her a kiss on the cheek, and she'd barely look up from her phone. Most nights, she was curled up on the couch, scrolling like it was her second job. I'd ask what she wanted for dinner, and she'd mumble, whatever, without even looking at me. I started planning things. Dinner downtown, a concert, even a couple's massage at one point. She bailed on all of it. Every time, it was something. Too tired, too much work, not feeling well. One night, I brought home takeout from her favorite Thai spot and lit some candles like a damn idiot. She walked in, looked around, and said, "What's the occasion?" Then she sat down, ate in silence, and went straight to bed. I sat there with a full plate across from an empty chair, feeling like an idiot. I started asking myself what I was doing wrong. Was I being too clingy, not enough? Was she just going through something and not telling me? I tried to be patient. I gave her space. I told myself not to push too hard. But the more I backed off, the more she drifted. Some nights, she wouldn't even come home until late. She'd claim she was out with friends, but she never invited me along. She'd come in all casual, toss her purse on the counter and say, "Long day," before disappearing into the bathroom. No kiss, no hug, not even eye contact. I asked her once gently, "Is everything okay with us?" She blinked at me like I'd just asked her to do my taxes. "Yeah," she said. "Why wouldn't it be?" "Because you act like I'm a stranger in my own house, that's why." But I didn't say that. I just nodded and let it go. Stupid, I know. I just didn't want to start a fight. Weeks went by like that. Awkward, distant, cold. I'd sit next to her on the couch and feel like we were miles apart. She used to laugh at my dumb jokes, lean on me during movies. Now she sat there with her arms crossed, phone in hand, always somewhere else. One night, I tried again. I turned off the TV, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Can we just talk?" For real? She barely looked up. About what? I don't know. Us. Anything. You don't even seem like you want to be here half the time. She sighed, loud and exaggerated, like I was the problem. I'm just tired, Nick. Not everything's some big crisis. I clenched my jaw and stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just walked into the kitchen and poured myself a drink. She didn't follow, didn't say a word. That's when I knew something was really wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling while Maya snored beside me like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just poured my heart out to a brick wall. The next morning, I waited until we were both in the kitchen. She was scrolling her phone again, leaning against the counter in her robe, sipping coffee like we weren't living in a damn icebox of a marriage. I cleared my throat. Can we talk? She didn't even look up. About what? I'm serious, Maya. I can't keep walking on eggshells around you. You've been cold for weeks, months actually. You barely touch me. You don't kiss me. You don't even look at me unless I speak first. She finally glanced at me, blank-faced. So? So? What the hell does that mean? You act like we're roommates who barely get along. She rolled her eyes. God, Nick, is this about sex again? I froze. It's not just about sex, it's about us. You don't even try anymore. She scoffed. I don't owe you my body just because we're married. I never said you did. But we're supposed to be partners. Intimacy isn't some luxury item I'm begging for. It's part of a relationship. You won't even sit next to me without acting annoyed. She crossed her arms. You're being needy. This is exactly why I don't want to be around you lately. I stared at her, stunned. Because I want to feel like my wife gives a damn about me? She shrugged like she couldn't be bothered. Maybe you should stop expecting so much. I'm tired, Nick. Emotionally, mentally, everything. I'm allowed to set boundaries. I took a step back, trying to keep my voice level. Boundaries? You've built a damn wall between us. You don't talk, you don't share anything, and when I try, you shut it down. She didn't respond, just went back to her coffee like the conversation was over. I stood there a few more seconds, waiting, hoping she'd say something that showed she still gave a crap. But nothing. No apology, no explanation. Just silence. I walked out. I didn't even grab my keys. I just needed to get out of that kitchen before I said something I couldn't take back. I sat in the garage for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, feeling like someone had punched me in the chest. Her words kept playing in my head. You're being needy. I don't owe you my body. She made it sound like I was some monster for wanting connection. Like I was asking for something disgusting. That was the moment the doubt crept in. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I didn't know how to be a good husband. Maybe this was what marriage turned into, and I just hadn't figured out how to ride the wave yet. But deep down, I knew it wasn't me. I knew what love used to look like between us, and this wasn't it. This wasn't stress or boundaries or adjusting. This was something colder, sharper. That night, she went to bed without saying a word, left her plate in the sink and just disappeared into the bedroom. I sat alone on the couch, lights off, TV on mute, listening to the sound of the fridge humming like it was the only damn thing in the house still talking to me. A few days after that fight, I booked us a weekend in Asheville. Mountain views, cabin with a hot tub, the whole package. I figured maybe we just needed to get out of the house, get away from the tension, reset. When I told her, she barely reacted, just said, okay, like I'd told her we were out of milk. Still, I packed our bags, drove the 6 hours, made reservations at a steakhouse with a view, even brought wine she used to love. She spent the drive with her AirPods in, scrolling through Instagram. Didn't ask about the plans, didn't offer to drive, didn't even crack a smile when we pulled up to the cabin. That night at dinner, I leaned across the table and said, can we just try, please? I'm doing everything I can here. She set down her fork and sighed like I'd ruined her night. Nick, can we not do this right now? I just want to eat. That was it. No discussion, no, I'm sorry, no, let's talk later. Just total indifference. And I let it go. I sat there, nodding like an idiot, shoving steak into my mouth and pretending we were normal. When we got back to the cabin, I tried to kiss her, really kiss her, the way we used to. She turned her head and said, "I'm exhausted." Next morning, she was already dressed and outside on her phone before I even got out of bed. After we got home, I started throwing everything at the wall: expensive dinners, jewelry, a spa day. I even surprised her with a new iPad because she mentioned hers was slow. She said, "Thanks," without even looking up from her old one. I kept telling myself this was just a rough patch, that married people go through ups and downs, that if I just held on long enough, she'd come back around. But the truth was, I didn't recognize her anymore. She'd come home and walk right past me without a word. The only time she actually seemed engaged was when she was glued to her phone, texting God knows who, or out with people I'd never met, doing things I wasn't invited to. One night, I cooked dinner, lit candles again, like a damn fool, sat across from her while she picked at her food in silence. I finally said, "Do you even want to be married to me?" She didn't flinch, just shrugged. "I don't know. Right now, I'm just focused on myself." I felt something break inside me. Not anger, not even sadness, just emptiness. I smiled to myself like an idiot, stood up, and started cleaning the table. After she went to bed, I sat in the garage again, staring at nothing. I'd started doing that a lot, just sitting in silence like I was waiting for something to click, but nothing ever did. I started looking in the mirror and not recognizing my own face. I looked tired all the time, dead behind the eyes, like I was watching my life from the outside and couldn't touch it. I wasn't laughing anymore. I wasn't sleeping right. I'd show up to work in wrinkled shirts and forget where I parked my truck. My coworkers started asking if I was okay. I'd just lie and say I was tired. Truth was, I felt hollow. She still didn't touch me, still didn't talk to me, still acted like I was furniture. And the worst part, I still wanted her to love me. I still chased her like some lost puppy, thinking maybe this time she'd soften. But she never did. Eventually, I stopped buying gifts, stopped planning things, stopped asking how her day was. And that's when the questions started creeping in. Quiet at first, but steady. Was there someone else? Had this whole thing been fake from the beginning? Why did she say yes to me if she never planned to show up for real? I didn't have answers, but I was starting to think I needed to start looking for them. I didn't plan on starting another fight. I walked in the door after work, dead tired, and just wanted one normal night. I found her on the couch again, feet up, earbuds in, face lit up by her phone screen like usual. I stood there for a second, watching her scroll. She didn't even look up. I sat down across from her and said, "Can we talk?" She took out one earbud, annoyed. "What now?" That's when something in me cracked. I leaned forward. "Maya, what are we doing? Seriously. You treat me like I'm an inconvenience. I've tried everything to get through to you, and you give me nothing. Not 1 ounce of effort." She rolled her eyes. "Nick, I've told you before, I'm going through a lot. Not everything revolves around your need for attention." "My need for attention? You haven't touched me in months. You don't kiss me, you don't sleep near me, you don't even act like I exist unless you want something." She stood up like she was done already. "You keep bringing this up like I owe you something. I'm not talking about sex, Maya. I'm talking about being a partner, a wife, just showing up emotionally. Hell, I'd settle for a genuine conversation at this point." She crossed her arms. "I'm allowed to set boundaries. You acting like I'm broken just because I'm not on all the time is manipulative." "Manipulative?" I barked out a bitter laugh. "You've iced me out for months. I've begged you to meet me halfway, and every time you turn it around like I'm asking for the moon." Her voice dropped, sharp and flat. "You're entitled. That's your problem. You think just because you bought a few dinners and gifts, I'm supposed to jump back into your arms like nothing happened. Nothing did happen. That's the whole point. You shut down for no reason, and I'm the one trying to glue the pieces together, while you sit back and act like you're doing me a favor by staying." She walked off toward the bedroom, muttering, "I'm done with this conversation." And just like that, it was over. I didn't follow her. I didn't say another word. I just stood there, in the middle of our quiet, dark living room, staring at the hallway like it had answers I didn't. Then I grabbed a pillow and blanket from the hall closet and went to the guest room. That bed felt like concrete. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, head spinning. I kept replaying everything she said, entitled, manipulative, owe you nothing. She made me feel like trash for wanting the bare minimum in a relationship. I used to be so sure I married someone real, someone warm. Now she looked at me like a burden, talked to me like I was something she was forced to deal with. And the crazy part? She never even tried to pretend anymore. I lay there until sunrise, restless and wired, and that's when the thought finally hit me. What if this wasn't just her pulling away? What if she never actually wanted this to begin with? That word, annulment, popped into my head like a whisper. I didn't even know how it worked, didn't know if it applied, but it stuck with me. Divorce felt like an ending. Annulment? That meant it was never real in the first place. And for the first time, that actually made more sense. Still, how would I prove that? What do you even say? Hey, judge, my wife stopped hugging me. Can I erase our marriage? I didn't have answers. But that night, lying in that cold bed, I stopped pretending it would fix itself. Something had been off since the day we got back from our honeymoon. I just didn't want to see it, but now I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next morning, I sat in my truck outside a Starbucks with a coffee I didn't even want, Googling things I never thought I'd Google. Annulment laws in Ohio, how to prove marriage fraud, spouse emotional manipulation. It felt ridiculous at first, like I was being dramatic. But the deeper I dug, the more it started to make sense. There were actual cases, real people who'd been in marriages just like mine, where the other person got what they wanted and checked out, used the marriage like a transaction. I found a number for a family law attorney in Columbus. Local guy, good reviews. I called, set up a consultation for the next day. Maya was still asleep when I got home. I slid back into the house like I was hiding something, even though all I'd done was ask questions I should have asked months ago. The next day I sat across from this lawyer, mid-50s, sharp eyes, wore a wedding ring, and told him everything. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out, from the auction night to the cold shoulder to sleeping in the guest room. He didn't flinch once. When I finished, he leaned forward and said, "Look, Nick, annulments are rare, but not impossible. The key is proving she entered the marriage under false pretenses. That means intent. Did she ever plan to be a wife, or was there another agenda?" I swallowed hard. How do I prove that? You build a case, communications, financial records, timeline of behavior. If she was seeing someone else, if she used the marriage for personal gain, if she never intended to fulfill the duties of a spouse, you show that. It's not about the lack of sex, it's about deception. He slid a legal pad toward me. Start writing everything down. Dates, messages, expenses. You need a pattern. The more you document, the stronger the case. I left his office feeling a weird mix of panic and relief. Like I'd been given permission to stop pretending this was salvageable. When I got home, Maya was on the phone in the kitchen. As soon as I walked in, she lowered her voice and turned away. "Who was that?" I asked casually, dropping my keys. "Just Morgan," she said, too fast. I nodded like I bought it. That night, after she went to bed, I cracked open my laptop and started going through everything. Bank statements, shared accounts, her social media. I didn't even know what I was looking for yet, just something that screamed this wasn't real. She had credit card charges I didn't recognize, boutiques in places she said she'd never been, payments to a PayPal account under a name I didn't know. I started keeping a file, screenshots, dates, flagged expenses. Then I remembered her old phone. The one she stopped using 2 months after we got married. I'd seen it in the drawer in her nightstand. The next day, while she was out meeting a friend, I went into our bedroom, pulled open the drawer, and there it was. Dead. I found the charger, plugged it in, waited for it to come to life. No password. Most of the messages were wiped, but the email app still had some history. Old confirmations from dating sites, including one sent after we got married. I took pictures of the screen. I kept my face calm when she got home. Said I'd ordered pizza, asked how her friend was. She smiled like everything was normal, like she wasn't living a double life under the same roof. I started watching her differently after that. Not reacting, just studying. Her words, her timing, the way she answered questions. The way her mood shifted when she got texts. At night, I'd lie in bed with my back to her, staring at the wall while she snored behind me, like she hadn't gutted me from the inside out. I didn't say anything yet, didn't confront her. I wanted more. The lawyer said I'd only get one shot at this. If I was going to expose her, I had to do it clean. No emotion, just the truth. But the more I uncovered, the more certain I became. She hadn't married me to build a life. She'd married me to build an escape plan. A week after I found those emails, I did something I never thought I'd do. I cloned her phone. I bought a cheap monitoring app, installed it while she was in the shower, synced everything to my laptop. It felt dirty, like I was crossing some invisible line. But at that point, I didn't care. I needed the truth, and I got it. 3 days later, her texts started coming in, live. She didn't even bother hiding it. Didn't use a fake name, didn't delete the messages, just blatant back and forths with some guy named Eric. I read every word. I can't stand sleeping next to him. I just have to hold out a little longer until I get what I need. He's clueless, thinks buying me stuff will fix everything. My stomach turned. My hands shook. I had to close the laptop and walk outside just to breathe. But I kept going back. I needed more. A week's worth of texts confirmed everything. She'd been seeing this guy for months. He lived in Cincinnati. They'd met by accident on a trip she claimed was for a friend's birthday. And apparently, she'd been planning to move in with him once. Everything was sorted. The worst one? He's too nice, honestly. Makes it easier to string him along. That broke something in me I didn't even know could still be broken. She wasn't confused. She wasn't stressed. She wasn't working on herself. She was running a con. I screenshotted every message, saved backups to 2 different drives. I didn't say a word to her, not yet. Instead, I called the lawyer again and told him everything. "You're going to want a PI," he said. "If this is part of a pattern, we need proof. We show that she's done this before, and that's your case." I hired a guy named Brooks, quiet, ex-military, straight to the point. Told him to dig up everything, past relationships, legal history, addresses, jobs. He called me 5 days later. "Nick, you sitting down?" "Yeah, why?" "She's been married before, to a guy named Kyle Henson from Charlotte. Marriage lasted 11 months. He filed annulment paperwork but dropped it halfway through. No kids, no property division, same pattern. Sudden distance, financial manipulation. Then she disappeared. I sat there staring at the wall, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "She changed her last name after the divorce," Brooks added. "Went back to her maiden name. Technically no legal requirement to disclose it in Ohio. So, unless you dug, you'd never know." "She never told me," I said, more to myself than to him. "Yeah, I figured. Want me to keep digging?" "No," I said. "That's enough. That's more than enough." After we hung up, I pulled up Maya's Instagram. She was smiling in the latest post, coffee in hand, hair perfect, captioned with some inspirational quote about trusting the process. I stared at that photo, seeing a stranger. The version of her I fell in love with didn't exist. It was a role she played, and I bought the act like a sucker. She married me for my stability, for my salary, for the image. And now she was counting down the days until she could walk away clean, just like she did to Kyle. I felt sick, but I also felt ready. I printed out every screenshot, compiled every bank record, copied the PI's report into a folder. I called the lawyer and told him we were moving forward. "She won't see it coming," I said. He agreed. "We'll make it clean. No room for her to twist it around." That night, she came home smiling. Kissed me on the cheek like we were still playing house, asked if I wanted Thai or Italian for dinner. I looked her in the eye and said, "Whatever you want," because soon it wouldn't matter. The next night, I waited until after dinner. We were sitting on the couch, some cooking show playing in the background. She had her feet curled under her, phone in one hand, glass of red wine in the other, looking perfectly unbothered, like none of it was about to come crashing down. I muted the TV. She glanced up. "What?" "We need to talk." She sighed and set the wine down. "Again?" "Yeah. But this time, you're gonna listen." I grabbed the folder off the coffee table. Thick, heavy, packed with receipts, literally and otherwise. I tossed it in her lap. She blinked at it, then opened it, flipping through the first few pages. Screenshots, emails, photos. "What the hell is this?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "It's everything. The text with Eric, the charges to your secret PayPal, the dating site confirmations, the phone logs, all of it. Her face went pale for a second, but she recovered fast. You went through my stuff? You lied to my face, for months. Don't try to flip this. She slammed the folder shut. This is a violation? Save it, Maya. I know about Kyle. That shut her up. She looked at me like I'd just punched her. What? Your first husband, Charlotte, 11 months, same exact pattern. You bled him dry, then vanished, changed your name so I'd never find out. But I did. She opened her mouth, closed it, then stood up. This is insane. You're spying on me, digging up old crap. Cut the act, I snapped. You've been playing me since day one. You think because I'm nice, I'm stupid? You never planned to be a wife. You just wanted a safety net. She crossed her arms, defiant now. You're blowing everything out of proportion. I was unhappy. You weren't giving me what I needed emotionally. I laughed, cold and bitter. You shut me out. I begged you to talk, to connect, and you iced me like I was some clingy coworker. Don't you dare pretend this is on me. You weren't enough, she said, suddenly sharp. Okay? You weren't exciting. You were boring, predictable. You were just easy. My jaw clenched, but I didn't say anything. You had the money, the job, the image. That's what I needed at the time. You checked the boxes. And now? She didn't answer. I stepped forward. You said you were holding out a little longer. What does that even mean? She looked down at the wine glass, then back at me. I was going to leave, after I figured out where I stood with Eric, but he's not ready either. Jesus, I muttered, rubbing my hands down my face. So you were just killing time. Using me for whatever security I gave you. It's not that black and white. It is to me. Silence hung heavy between us. She looked like she wanted to cry, but didn't have the tears. I didn't feel pity, just clarity. I'm filing for annulment, I said. This marriage was built on lies, and now I have the proof. She started pacing. You don't have to do this. We can work something out. No, Maya, I'm done working it out. You made your choices. Her voice rose. You're just bitter. You think this makes you some kind of victim? I am a victim. I just finally stopped acting like I'm not. She froze. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, calm for the first time in what felt like years. When I came back, she was sitting on the couch again, staring at nothing. You'll regret this, she said quietly. No, I replied. I regret not seeing through you sooner. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like I had the upper hand. By the end of that week, I was back in my lawyer's office, this time across the table from a whole team. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was building a case. We filed for annulment under fraud and misrepresentation. I gave them everything. The texts, the PI's report, the phone records, her financial history, every dirty string I'd pulled until the whole thing unraveled. Maya was served 3 days later. Her reaction? A meltdown. First it was crying. She came at me with mascara running, yelling in our driveway like we were on a reality show. You're destroying my life. I never meant for it to go this far. Then it flipped into rage. You're petty, Nick. You're just trying to humiliate me because I didn't give you the attention you wanted. I didn't respond. I just walked past her and shut the door. She got a lawyer of her own, some fast-talking younger guy who thought he could spin her crap into a story worth believing. First hearing, he tried to argue emotional incompatibility, said, "We just grew apart." My lawyer, Richard, shut it down cold. This is not about incompatibility. This is a calculated pattern. She entered this marriage with no intent to act as a partner. It was financial exploitation, Your Honor. We've got records to prove it. Maya sat 2 chairs away from me, arms folded, eyes bouncing around the room, like she was above it all. But I could see the cracks. She wasn't cool anymore. She wasn't composed. She was spiraling. Her lawyer tried again, saying the texts were taken out of context. Richard slid a packet across the table. You'll see she referred to my client as a temporary solution. She also admitted she was waiting to leave until her situation with another man became more stable. That's not taken out of context. That's intent. The judge, a stern woman with zero patience, leaned forward. Ms. Taylor, were you having an affair during your marriage? Maya opened her mouth, hesitated, then said, I was confused. Nick wasn't emotionally available. I was lonely. Answer the question, the judge cut in. Yes or no? Yes, she whispered. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. That was the beginning of the end. The court reviewed the financials next, how she'd funneled money to a PayPal account under a different name, racked up charges at boutiques and hotels she claimed were friend trips. Every detail chipped away at her story until there was nothing left standing. By the time we left the courthouse that day, the judge had made it clear this wasn't a divorce. This was a scam. 2 weeks later, the ruling came through. Annulment granted. Marriage voided. Judge also referred Maya for potential investigation into financial misconduct. I was standing outside the courthouse, papers in hand, watching her walk down the steps with her lawyer hissing something in her ear. She turned back once, looked me dead in the eyes like she still had something to say. I didn't flinch. I felt light, like I'd just cut 100-pound weight off my chest. The knot in my stomach that had been twisting for almost a year finally loosened. She got into a black SUV and drove off without a word. I stood there for a while longer, cars passing, wind cutting through my shirt. I didn't cry, I didn't smile either, just breathed. For the first time in a long time, it felt like my air. That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer in one hand and the case file in the other. I read through it page by page, not out of spite, but to remind myself what I'd come through, what I'd let myself believe, what I'd finally stopped accepting. Maya tried to sell me an image, a perfect woman, a perfect life, and I bought it because I wanted it to be true. But truth doesn't need makeup. It doesn't hide behind texts and fake tears. The courtroom didn't fix everything. I still felt bruised, still angry, but for once, I didn't feel powerless. I'd seen the truth, faced it, fought it, and I walked away, standing tall. A few weeks after the ruling, I started hearing things. Maya lost her job. Apparently, HR reevaluated her contract once word got around about the fraud case. That PayPal trail? It didn't just lead to shopping sprees. It touched company funds from a freelance gig she never reported. Her name started showing up in online forums and legal bulletins. Whatever image she'd built, it collapsed fast. She tried calling me once. Blocked number. I let it ring out. I wasn't angry anymore, not like before. Just done. I'd bled enough for her. She wasn't getting another drop. Instead, I spent time with people I hadn't seen in months, grabbed beers with my brother, took my niece to the zoo, called my mom without feeling like I had to whisper from the garage. My best friend Brian said it straight. Dude, you're finally back. And he was right. I wasn't whole yet, but I was present. I could laugh again, sleep again, sit in silence without that twisting in my gut. I'd cleaned out the house. Everything she left behind was boxed up and dropped at Goodwill. No notes, no goodbye speech, just gone. Some nights, I still thought about it, about how I fell for her so hard, so fast, about how blind I was to the signs. But every time the guilt crept in, I reminded myself, she made that choice, not me. I showed up. I tried. I gave everything. She played a game and lost. I didn't. The lawyer called to tell me the investigation was moving forward. She might face charges. I said I didn't care about punishment. I just wanted peace. And I had it. One Saturday, I drove out to Hocking Hills, sat on a rock ledge with a sandwich and a bottle of water. No distractions, no noise, just wind and trees and space. I looked around and thought, this is it. This is the part where I start over. Not a dramatic rebirth, no grand statement, just the slow, steady return to being myself. Maya tried to write my story for me, tried to make me the weak one, the clueless husband she could use and toss aside. But I flipped the script. I exposed her, erased her, and walked away with my name clean and my spine straight. Whatever comes next, it's mine to choose.